Good evening. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alfonso Octavianus, and today I am joined with my friend in this discussion. He is.
Alvandi Bagastha, and welcome everyone.
We would like to discuss the life of a famous Portuguese poet, Francisco de Sage Miranda.
I didn't know about him.
Do you know about?
And who is Miranda?
Yeah, so Miranda is a Portuguese poet and writer. He is described as thick set of medium height with very white hands and face, smooth black hair, beard long and thick, eyes green, well shaded but almost excessively large, nose long and aquiline, grave and melancholy in appearance, witty and refined, and less sparing of words than of laughter. Such is the picture of Francisco de Sage Miranda, drawn by the anonymous biographer in the 1614 edition of his works. But now, who really is Miranda? Can you tell me something that you know?
Of course, Miranda, a Portuguese poet and writer, and was active during the Renaissance. Born on 28th of August in 1471 in Coimbra, and he was particularly known for introducing the Renaissance poetic forms to Portugal. And he was the son of Canon of Coimbra, belonging to the ancient and noble family of the Sa, and passed his early years by the banks of the river Mondego, the source of inspiration to poets in every age. He probably made his first studies of Greek, Latin, and philosophy in one of the colleges of the old city, and in 1505 went to Lisbon University, beginning at the same time to join the court.
I see. But it is to my knowledge that during the years from 1521 to 1526, he spent his lives in Italy, visiting Milan, Venice, Florence, Rome, Naples, and Sicily. He also made the acquaintance of Giovanni Ruscelai, Latanzio Tolome, and Jacopo Sanazzaro. He also met the illustrious Vittoria Colonna, a distant connection of his family, and in her house, he probably talked with the Italian Cardinal Pietro Bembo and Ariosto. By the time he returned home in 1526, he had become familiar with Italian verse forms and meters, the sonnet and canzone of Petrarch, the tercet of Dante, and the ottafarima of Ariosto, the eclogue in the manner of Sanazzaro, and the Italian hendesyllabic verse. His main merit for Portuguese literature is that he introduced the Italian verse forms. Sage Miranda was the first author to write sonnets in Portuguese. His best-known poem is the sonnet A Solegrande com Alma essa vez. It was translated into English by John Adamson in Lusitania Illustrata somewhere in the 19th century, if I remember correctly. And now, Bagas, this is interesting. Can you tell me something, perhaps more about his other works?
Did you ever hear about Os Estrangers or the Foreigners? And it's written about 15 and 27 and was the first Portuguese prose comedy in classical manner. And he wrote another works like Os Filhos Fandos and is about 15 and 28 and published in 15 and 60. And another one is Cleopatra and written in 15 and 50, and of which only a dozen lines are extant, and was probably the first Portuguese classical tragedy. And about in
Ah,
1528, Song de Miranda made his first attempt to introduce the new Renaissance forms of verse by writing in Spanish a canzon, and started Fabula de Mondego, or in English is Fable of the Monego, the rivers in his child. This was followed a year or two later by the Eclogue Ado. And the years later, can you tell me about the Miranda?
oh, of course I can. But before we get into that, I just want to give a information to perhaps the audience who are watching our very own discussion. An eclogue is a poem in a classical style on a pastoral subject. A pastoral subject, or a known as a pastoral poetry, is usually poetry that explores the fantasy of withdrawing from modern life to live in an idyllic rural setting. Idyllic means something that is full of happiness, full of joyfulness, and stuff like that. Okay, so back to our discussion. Around 1530, the year he married Briolanja de Azevedo, he finally decided to leave Lisbon and settled on his country estate in Minho. It is in this later period that he produced his best work, the Eclogue Basto, the Cartas, and the Satires, in which he shows himself a stern critic of contemporary society. Some of the sonnets of this period combine a grave tenderness of feeling and refinement of thought with simplicity of expression. In 1552, he moved to the Quinta da Tapada near Amares, where he sadly died 6 years later, aged 76. And I guess those are the things that we can tell you about Sajay Miranda. It's such a shame that he is not particularly well known in the English speaking world.
It's really sad about that is not really known from the world.
Now, we would like to thank all the participants or all the people who spend their time to watch our discussion, and we would like to end this discussion with the both of us reading the poem by Sajay Miranda, and that poem is his best known poem, the sonnet A Sole Grande Caimco a Calma essa vez. But we will read the sonnet in English because sadly we are both not that fluent in speaking Portuguese.
Thank you very much for your attention.
And please welcome our next performance. Thank you and see you again.
The sun is strong, the birds fall calmly. In this season, which used to be cold, this rain from high above would wake me up, not from my sleep, but from my serious troubles. O things, all vain and mutable, what kind of heart could trust in you? Time goes by day, much more uncertain than the ships in the wind.
Here shadows and flowers I have seen. I saw so much water, so much greenery. All the birds were singing for love. Now all is dry and silent, and moreover, my own colors have gone dry, and everything else renews, save only me.